Shalom, shalom to the nation of Yahawah. This is the officer Zakar and the soldier Hamad of LZ Augusta, Georgia, under Priest Kahan and Minister Shalomah of the Light of Zion. Today's topic will be about regeneration according to the scriptures. All right, so without further ado, let's get the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17.
Con. This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the other one Yahawashi, giving thanks to the Most High and the Abba by him.
That's right. So everything we do in word or deed, we always have to give thanks to Hamashiach Yahawashi. So like we have to give thanks to the Most High through Hamashiach Yahawashi. Right? And whenever you have this scripture on your mind, you should always be thinking of the fact that Hamashiach Yahawashi was that perfect example for Israel. So whatever he did, we also have to do. Right? The way that he lived, we have to live that way. And the way that he thought, we have to try to think how he thought. As far as how, he had so much love for the nation of Yahawah in the first place, enough to die for us. Right? So let's get let me see. The book of Hebrews, chapter 5 and verse 12. Bakusha. Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again.
That one do what?
Teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk.
Need of what?
Need of milk, and not of strong meat.
So what is this milk that it's talking about? The law, statutes, and commandments, right? And not of strong meat, meaning, trying to get into the prophecies already and trying to get the deeper understanding of the scriptures without even having the milk yet, right? You can't just go to the New Testament without even reading the Old Testament. You're not going to understand the New Testament. That's where a lot of Christians, and even our people that are in, Hebrew Israelism, that's where they always stumble at. That's where they always fall at. Because they try to go to, Paul's letters trying to understand what he's saying, but they don't even understand the milk yet. So you have to go to the foundation first. Get that understanding from the Most High. Pray to the Most High that gives you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That way you're able to understand the scriptures in their entirety. Right? You can continue.
Verse 13. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. For he is a babe.
He is a what?
He is a babe.
Because when you come into this thing, that's the first thing you should be seeking out. The knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the Old Testament, or the very beginning, the Torah. Read that first. That's the milk that it's talking about. Because you're unskillful at this point. You have to learn the basics first. You can't just hop into the deeper understandings of the scriptures. You can't just hop into the prophecies of John the Revelator. You can't hop into the prophecies of Daniel, of Jeremiah, of Isaiah, of Micah, Malachi. You won't understand these things like that. You have to start from the very beginning, because everything is on a cycle. Once you get the milk of everything, you'll understand what goes on in the rest of the scriptures. Because believe it or not, a lot of things that were done in the Torah gets repeated throughout history, throughout the scriptures. So the more you understand the Torah, the more you understand how things go throughout the rest of the scriptures. Literally, that's how it happens. Right? Continue.
Verse 14. But strong meat.
Strong what?
But strong meat belongeth to them that are full age. That are of full age. Even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
That's right. Let me get Isaiah 33 and 6. The book of Isaiah 33 and verse 6.
This book of Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times.
Shall be what?
The stability of thy times.
Because we're going to be entering a time where this is what we're going to have. This is all we're going to have. The knowledge of these scriptures. Because these scriptures give us everything that we need in order to survive and for us to build as a people again. Right? The dietary laws, it gives us instructions on how to take care of the land, how to take care of our people, and to worship the Most High Yahawah. Right? So wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Go ahead.
and strength of salvation.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of the Most High is his treasure.
We have to fear the Most High. How do you fear the Most High? By understanding what the Most High has done in the past and knowing that he can do that to you in our present time. Fear the Most High, knowing that he's all powerful. That the Most High can just take us out whenever he wants to. He can sift us out of this truth or just take our life in general. All these things will build up your wisdom, understanding that the Most High is to be feared. Now, let me get 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. Book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21.
This book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21.
So give me 1 second. All right, go ahead.
For even hereunto were ye called,
Mm-hmm.
because Hamashiach also suffered for us.
He did what?
Also suffered for us, leaving us an example.
Leaving what?
Leaving us an example.
So going back to on the topic of Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? And being that perfect example for us. He suffered for the nation of Yashar'Allah. Right? The prophets of old were what? They were killed just for, bringing out the word, bringing out the prophecies, warning our people. We have to be able to, to have that mindset to put ourselves in those positions, because who else is going to do it? We have to bid our people to the marriage. We have to make them understand that we have to come back to the Most High, that we have to come back to the law, statutes, and the commandments, that we have to get this understanding. Because without this understanding, without us coming back to who we are, we're going to continue to suffer in this world. On this side, we're going to continue to be in captivity, and in the lands of our captivities, we're going to continue to be vexed over here, vexed by all these wicked spirits that we see, going to and fro upon the earth. To see a man trying to lie with a man, and then him dressing like a drag queen and all this is vexing as hell, man. Most High willing, we get out of here soon, because we have to make sure that we actually wake up and try to wake our people up. That's why we have to get on these street corners, making sure that our people really are following the law, statutes, and commandments and hearing this word. That's why we abuse the internet, right? We abuse the internet by using TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We use all the resources that we can to make sure that the words of the Most High go out, right? So let me get the book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 18. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 18.
This is the book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 18.
Go ahead.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass.
Till what?
Till heaven and earth pass. One jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law.
That's right. So if Hamashiach Yahawashi taught us to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, that's exactly what we should be doing. He said, literally, not one jot or one tittle should in no wise pass from the law. Right? So we have to be teaching these things. Go ahead, verse 19.
Till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
Shall do what?
Break one of these least commandments.
Because people think they think that it's silly to try to grow your beard out. That you could be punished for cutting your beard off. Or they say you can eat whatever you want. There's no harm in eating shrimps, crabs, lobster. These are one of the least commandments in a lot of people's eyes. But go ahead.
And shall teach men so. He shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
You're going to be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
That's right. So going back to Hamashiach Yahawashi being that perfect example, he did what? He taught and kept the law, statutes, and commandments. That's why he's going to be so great in the kingdom of heaven, being the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So when you understand that and you have that mindset to want to do better and continue to better yourself and to want to better our people, bring our people back to the Most High, you'll be great in the kingdom of heaven too, Most High willing. All right, so now let's get onto the topic of regeneration, right, through the scriptures, or through the Spirit. Let's get into the scriptures. Let me get the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1. Book of Malachi, chapter 3, and verse 1. Tonight's class won't be too long, or this video won't be too long, but I'm just going to bring out some precepts concerning regeneration. Go ahead.
This book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, said the Lord of hosts.
He shall do what?
He shall come, said the Lord of hosts.
Because there was a specific time that Hamashiach Yahawashi was supposed to come to the earth. We understand that because it's written in the book of 2nd Esdras, right? And it's also written in the book of Daniel as well. Daniel chapter 9, if I remember correctly. So who was this messenger that it's talking about? Let's get the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew, chapter 11. Book of Matthew, chapter 11. Start at verse 12, Papa Shah.
This book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if ye will receive it, this is Elias.
Who?
Elias.
Who?
Elias. Which was for to come.
Because the scripture talks about a messenger who was supposed to prepare the way for Hamashiach Yahawashi. That's John the Baptist, right? So how is it that he is Elias? Think about that. How is it that he is Elias? Right? Let's get the book of 2nd Esdras. The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 14 and verse 35. Let me see. Give me 1 second. 35. Let me see. You can go ahead.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 14, verse 35. For after that shall the judgment come, when we shall live again.
We shall what?
When we shall live again. And then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared.
So it says, for after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. So the scriptures clearly talk about regeneration, because how else would you live again? You'd have to be reborn again, right? So let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16. Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 16. When you got it, you can go ahead, King.
This book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, you said verse 16? Verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun. And moreover, I saw under the sun.
Saw where?
Saw under the sun the place of judgment.
So under the sun is the place of judgment. What is under the sun? Think about that. What is under the sun? The earth is under the sun, right? Go ahead.
I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there.
That what was there?
Wickedness was there.
Because the wicked are upon the earth, right? Go ahead.
And the place of righteousness, that iniquities was there.
That's right. Because the righteous are also here as well. There are evildoers upon the earth, and there are people who are trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments on this earth. This is the place of judgment. The earth is the place of judgment. Because when you die, you get your sentence up there, and you have to live out your judgment in your next life. That's just how it works, right? It's not hard to understand the concept of regeneration. So let me get the book of Revelation. Chapter 10, and start at verse 9.
Book of Revelation, chapter 10, verse 9. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up. And it shall make thy belly bitter.
Shall do what?
Make thy belly bitter. But it shall be in the mouth in thy mouth sweet as honey.
Uh-huh.
Verse 10. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth. Salakia. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey.
Because when you have these laws, statutes, and commandments, and the Most High starts giving you understanding, it is sweet to understand. It's sweet to know these things. All right, go ahead.
And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter.
Because what's the thing that comes with understanding these scriptures? You become hated among men. All because you're trying to teach them to do right. You're trying to teach our people to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So this knowledge is sweet. It's sweet in your mouth. It's sweet whenever you think about it. But the price of it is death, or it's humiliation or hatred towards you. Just because you want to keep the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. That's that bitterness in his belly. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And he said unto me, thou must prophesy against before many peoples.
I must do what?
Prophesy again before many peoples,
Uh-huh.
and nations, and tongues, and kings.
Now, if this is John the Revelator, how is he going to prophesy again before many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings? Because if I remember correctly, he died not too long after he wrote these things. He already passed away. So that means he'd have to be brought back on the earth again, where that place of judgment is. Right? So think about that. This is what the scriptures talk about. Let me get the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7. Revelation 1 and 7. One of my favorite scriptures to go to.
This book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7.
Con.
Behold, he cometh with clouds.
He does what?
Cometh with clouds.
Uh-huh.
And every eye shall see him.
Uh-huh.
And they also which pierced
And
him.
who?
And they also which pierced him.
So this is talking about how Mashiach Yahawashi coming with the clouds of heaven. It says, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. So how are they that pierced him, who died over 2,000 years ago, going to see him coming in with the clouds of heaven? They'd have to be regenerated. They'd have to be back on the earth again. That's how the things work. Things work in a cycle with the Most High. Because the Most High was already done creating everything on the sixth day. Right? So when you have this understanding and you understand what the Most High is saying, or what the scriptures are saying concerning, people being upon this earth again, or when they're called the name of an old prophet, for example, John the Baptist, not John the Baptist, but yeah, constantly John the Baptist being called Elias, that means that what? He is Elias. He's just brought back on the earth again. All right, so let's get 2nd Esdras, Baba Kushar. 2nd Esdras, chapter 5. And then start at verse 41 for me.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5, verse 41.
Uh-huh.
And I said, behold, O Lord, yet are thy nigh unto them that be reserved till the end.
Uh-huh.
And what shall they do that have been before me?
Uh-huh.
Or we that be now?
Meaning in his time. Uh-huh.
Or they that shall come after us?
Uh-huh.
Verse 42. And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment into a ring.
He'll do what?
I would liken my judgment into a ring.
When you look at a ring, what does it look like? A ring is a circle, right? That's what it looks like. It looks like a circle. Has a starting point and it ends at the exact starting point. That's how it's drawn. Go ahead.
Like as there, Shalakia, I will liken my judgment to a ring.
Uh-huh.
Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first.
Uh-huh.
So I answered and said, couldst thou not make those that have been made and be now, and that are for to come at once?
Meaning he wants the Most High to literally have everybody that he's, or every soul, every spirit that he's ever created, and bring them upon the earth during his time. That's his time, right? He wants all these different spirits and souls to be on the earth at the same time. Go ahead.
That thou mightest show thy judgments the sooner.
That's why he wants that to happen. He wants the Most High to do all these things. He's asking the Most High to do these things so that the Most High could just judge everything sooner. So that the Most High can already have sent Hamashiach Yahawashi, that we'd be out of here. That the wicked will be, tormented, have all the things happen to them, and the righteous be in authority. But what does the scripture say? Verse 44.
Verse 44. And then answered he me and said, the creature not haste above the Maker.
Uh-huh.
Neither may the world.
Neither what?
Neither may the world
Uh-huh.
hold them at once
Mhm.
that shall be created therein.
So the world can't even hold all these souls at the same time. So that's why the Most High likens his judgment unto a ring. Because you die, and then guess what? You're brought back up to the Most High. You get your judgment. You're born on the earth, and you live out your judgment. It's that simple, right? So that's how the Most High works. So when you have the understanding of how the Most High has everything in the ring like that, you're like, oh snap! The Most High is just, he just has it on clock like that. He just has it on lock like that. Go ahead.
Verse 45.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, as thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou which gavest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created, and the creature buried. Even so, it might now also bear them that now be present at once. And he said unto me, ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, if thou bringest forth children, why dost thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her, therefore, to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, she cannot, but must do it by distance of time.
She might do it what?
Must do it by distance of time.
That's right. So you don't have all these different women, because there are cases where, women may have triplets, she may have twins, etc. Right? But all the women on the earth, they're not all doing that. Like the Most High has special cases. That's one thing. But you don't have every single woman upon the earth bringing forth 10 children at once. It's just not happening. So the Most High is saying that it's not going to happen. Right? So let me get the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms, chapter 104. Book of Psalms, chapter 104. Let's start at verse 29.
This book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath. They die.
They what?
They die.
And what?
And return to their dust.
So when you die, your body does decay in the ground, right? Returns to their dust. Go ahead.
Thou sendest forth thy spirit.
He does what?
Thou sendest forth thy spirit. They are created. And thou renewest the face of the earth.
He does what?
Renewest the face of the earth.
The Most High renews the face of the earth. Think about that. How would the Most High renew the face of the earth? By people being reborn again. It's that simple. By people being born. Because you die and you pass away. You go into the third heaven where the Most High is. You get your judgment from the Most High, and then you live out that judgment on the earth again. Because the place of judgment is where? Upon the earth. That's just what it says. You can't speak against what the Most High said. Because there are people saying that regeneration is not real. You only live once, etc., etc. But the Most High is not creating any more spirits. He said that all the things that he wanted to create was already created on the 6th day. Everything was already finished on that day. So you can't come up against what the Most High already literally established. Because there's too many scriptures that talk about how there is regeneration. Way too many scriptures on that. Let me see. Let me get 2nd Esdras again. 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 11. 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 11.
This book of 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 11.
Wait, so I can. Actually, let me get Matthew 19. Let me get the book of Matthew chapter 19. Start at verse 28.
This book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 28.
Uh-huh.
And Yahawashi answered, and Yahawashi said unto them, verily, I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the Son, Regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones.
Shall do what?
Also sit, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
So they'd have to be born again as well. Think about that. It says, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory. Right? Regeneration is literally right there. So that means they'd have to be born again, right? So let me get the book of Ecclesiastes, Baba Kushal, 1 verse 9.
Come. This is the Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9.
Come.
The thing that has been.
The thing what?
The thing that has been.
Uh-huh.
It is that which shall be.
Uh-huh.
And that which is done is that which shall be done.
Because you have to remember the Most High said his judgment is likened unto a ring. Right? This phraseology right here is literally just like that. Go ahead.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
There's what?
No new thing under the sun.
Because there is no new thing under the sun. These spirits have been here before. Right? All these things that we see have been here before. The wicked people, the righteous, right? The way that how our people go off so often, go into captivity, it's happened multiple times already before. You know, us being back in our land, it happened multiple times before. The only difference between this time and the time that we're going to be in later on, Salaki, when Hamashiach and Yahawashi comes, is that we will never go back into captivity again. Never go back into captivity again. Because when we go back into our land, that's it. It's done for these other nations. Literally, it's over. But when you think about how things were on this side, what happened? We would go back to our land, go back into captivity. Go back into our land, go back into captivity. It was on a cycle, literally. Always happened. And that's just one example. Right? That's just one example. So when you think about all these things that the Most High said was going to happen, as far as, you know, somebody coming back upon the earth again to live or to prophesy like John the Revelator, all these things had to happen. Of course, we don't know who we are in these times, of course, but, you know, if we believe in the scriptures, you understand that regeneration is real and that we've all been here before. Right? Let me get the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 10. Matthew, chapter 17, verse 10.
The book of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 10.
Uh-huh.
And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come?
Because when you read the book of Malachi, that's where they're quoting this from, by the way. Not quoting, but that's where they're getting this information from. You break down the scripture, it says, why then say the scribes that Elias must come? Because it was written that Elias was going to come. Right, go ahead.
And Yahawashi answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you
that what?
That Elias is come already.
He's what?
Is come already. And they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist.
Of who?
Of John the Baptist.
You see how we circle back around to talk about John the Baptist again? Because he's a very perfect example in the scriptures of Hamashiach Yahawashi himself talking about regeneration. About Elias being John the Baptist, or John the Baptist being Elias. All right, so that's a perfect example of regeneration right there in the scriptures. You can't gainsay against that. Right? So I pray that this was edifying. All praise be unto the Most High for, you know, him allowing us to understand these scriptures the way he has. You know, and Most High willing, we'll continue to edify the nation of Israel. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahawah, Bahasham Yahawashi. Until next time, Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.